Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. These podcasts are brought to you in part by our sponsors who really truly are what make these podcasts possible every week. O'Fallon Nutrition is a company that I've worked with for over 15 years. They're independently owned and operated, located here in O'Fallon, Missouri, right off of Highway K and Mexico Road. I call this place the Whole Foods of St. Charles County, but even if you are not located on this side of the river, it is still worth the drive. I can remember working all the way down at Powerhouse and still sending people out to O'Fallon Nutrition for their supplements. They are more than a supplement company. You can get grass-fed beef, salad dressing, seasoning for your cooking, hair care products, makeup, deodorant, toothpaste, essential oils, and all the vitamins and minerals that you can think of. If you're looking for clean, whole food nutrition, as well as home care, house care, skincare products, O'Fallon Nutrition is your place. You can take a look at them at o'fallonnutrition.com, or if you'd like to have something shipped, if you're listening to me from outside of St. Louis, you can certainly have items shipped. I know they do free shipping if it's an order over $50, and the phone number is 636-240-5283. Again, it's o'fallonnutrition.com. As well as if preparing your food on a weekly basis is your primary excuse for why you're not able to stay on a good, clean eating program, which is something that I hear very regularly from my clients, I would ask you to please take the time to check out Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com. They are a phenomenal place. We get our food from there during the week. They deliver to our Integrity location. They will deliver to your house. They also are just available for pickup. You can go to their Chesterfield location or their Kirkwood location and just pick up meals for the day, as well as just having them delivered right to your door. So if preparing your food is your main excuse for why you cannot stay on a healthy eating program, then I would suggest just stop by Pure Plates. Just try it. If you're trying to lower your blood pressure, you're trying to lower your cholesterol, you're trying to get your blood sugar down, try to do Pure Plates meals for a week and just see how different you feel. These are organic meals. They are gluten-free. If you need them to be, they can be dairy-free. They are soy-free. You're not taking any processed sugars or meat-curing agents or preservatives. They really, truly believe in nutrient-dense meals that are just whole food nutrition. And I've had my clients, or I've made recommendations for my clients for years at Pure Plates. It's pureplatesstl.com, or you can call them to ask questions at 636-778-3555. Again, remembering that they have a location in Chesterfield as well as in Kirkwood that you can just run by and pick up a meal today. Everyone always asks me where I get my meat from, and given that I really eat meat on a daily basis, typically beef primarily, my meat is very important to me. I have an autoimmune condition and I want grain-free, corn-free meat, and I just haven't found the confidence in stores in knowing that I'm getting 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. And I have searched and searched and searched for the right farm, and I have found the farm. It's fedfromthefarm.com, fed, F-E-D, from thefarm.com. These farmers are amazing. It's a family. They're here in Missouri, and they have the desire, just like I do, to see people well and to see people healthy, and they put a lot into what they do. It's such a wonderful family to support. They do offer 100% grass-finished, grass-fed, meaning that's it. A beef, and I get my ribeyes, I get my ground beef, my ground sirloin, I get my chuck roast. I mean, they basically have everything. They even have awesome jerky, but they also have eggs, they have chickens, and they have turkey. I'm planning on getting a turkey for Thanksgiving, and if you'd like lamb, they have that as well. But if you are in need of good quality grass-fed, grass-finished beef, or quality eggs, chicken, turkey, don't just settle for what you're getting at the local store. to go out on the internet and check out Fed from the Farm. That you can arrange a pickup or you can have it delivered to your home. And I can guarantee you're going to taste the difference. For me, my health actually depends on it. So I really thank God to have found such a great farmer. Fedfromthefarm.com. I hope it blesses you.
Welcome to Faith, Fuel, and Fitness, the Integrity Way, with your hosts, John and Debbie Morris from Integrity Training Systems.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. As always, if you're familiar with our show, we like to talk to you about what it means to be a warrior. The definition in the Webster Dictionary is a brave or experienced fighter. And as usual, I like to explain that you are a warrior, whether you want to admit it or not, unless you are a brand new baby, because you are experienced. You've done something. So when you're coming up against your Goliath of the day or the week or the month or the year, where you're saying, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with and I can't do it, just remember you've said that before, and regardless of the outcome, you have come through it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be having the conversation with yourself again. So you are experienced, and you don't require bravery. It's just kind of a bonus. But yeah, we always like to kind of start. Last week, I was talking about a process that I'm going through with my own humility of rehabilitation of my body. I will be posting on that here within the next week or so. I've been taking some videos of the things that I'm having to do to recover myself. But Deb, let's talk a little bit about either something that you're going through or maybe some clients or friends or family are dealing with in regards to being a warrior, so that our listeners can kind of just understand that they don't walk alone and we are all fighting.
Absolutely. I think that it's like brave or experienced soldier or fighter. So you're looking at, experience, you're looking at bravery. And I remember my godfather, who I call my good dear friend, who I would always call my godfather.
Right.
Because he was quite a bit older than me, but he was my client. And when he first met with me, he couldn't actually step on the curb.
Right.
Correctly. Like he almost fell stepping up on the curb to
Right.
get into the building. And then at one point he was personal training with you 3 times a week and
Yes.
walking his property and, really just got himself into phenomenal shape. But in the beginning, he couldn't step up on the curb to come
Right.
in and see me for nutrition. But anyways, he always had that John Wayne quote. Do you remember what that is? I have it in the bathroom. It's like, courage. It's about courage.
Courage is being afraid, but moving
Doing
forward
it
regardless
anyways.
or in spite
Right.
of. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I just think sometimes people are so afraid of failing on health, right? Like they've tried and failed so many times. It's kind of like the sort of a cliche topic. It seems like everybody talks about it, but tried and failed. Why would I try again? I can't do it.
Right.
I can't stick with my food. I can't stay with a diet. But there could be a turning point the next time you do it. I remember when I was really sick and almost died, I went through 22 different doctors, and it was the 23rd doctor that changed my life. He found out what was wrong with me. And if I would have given up at 22, I wouldn't actually be sitting here today. I wouldn't have made it. And I think when it comes to your health, it's just you have to have the courage to keep trying, to keep fighting. And even though there are failing moments, there are times where, you maybe don't stay equipped, you don't stay on track, you don't keep it, you don't stay within the lines and stay within the boundaries. You can always just get yourself right back on the road and you can keep trying. Now, there's so many different options nowadays to be healthy. There are a lot of different methods. There's a lot of, there's weight loss drugs. There's diets like vegetarian. There's ketogenic diets. I personally just believe in putting a person on a well-balanced diet, learning and understanding what it takes to make them feel their best. But you may have tried and failed in the past because it really just maybe wasn't the right battle plan. You know
Right.
what I mean?
I also think that when it comes to health, sometimes people will, they won't be honest with themselves and that they don't actually know what to do. It's very interesting. I always tell people this. It's like in my life, short of like high school and early college jobs, like we've all had working in retail or, I delivered pizzas for a while, things like that. The 3 careers I've tried to pursue is I wanted to be a professional fighter. That didn't end up panning out for me. I was in law enforcement, and now I'm in the fitness industry. And when it comes to a fair amount of men that I have encountered in my life, it's like they all know how to do all 3 of those, quote unquote. It's like, oh, well, yeah, no, I mean, I've never been in a fight, but I could defend myself. I know how to defend myself. And it's like, you do? Like, I mean, how do you know? Like, you've never been in a fight, you've never trained for it. I mean, maybe you're a prodigy and you're going to come out of nowhere and you could be the, heavyweight champion of the world. But how do you know? In law enforcement, it's like, well, I understand the law, or, you get the other aspects of, well, I'm an ace shot. I've only been to the range one time, but I can shoot, and it's like, okay. And then in the fitness industry, it's like, well, I know what I need to do. But do you? Because what happens is people think they know what they need to do because they think, well, I just need to restrict my calories and I just need to eat less. I need to exercise more. I need to do more cardio. I know what I need to do. I just don't do it. And so in that, you're not actually warrioring. You're not actually fighting. You're not actually doing what you need to be doing. What you actually need to be doing has far less with the nutrition plan in the workout regimen, and it has far more to do with the implementation and the discipline of continuation. Because if you are just saying you know what to do and you're not actively doing it, then you don't actually know what you need to be doing. And what I mean by that is maybe you've lost weight in the past. Maybe you have been in shape. Maybe you've been an athlete, but how long ago was it? Was it 10 years ago? Was it 5 years ago? Was it 20 years ago? Things are probably different now. So sometimes part of being a warrior in strategy is actually setting yourself up to learn from someone else or work with someone else to overcome something, have the bravery to tackle something that may be just a different battle. To your point, it's a different strategy. You might have to change the assault up a little bit. Like maybe it isn't the same meal plan. Maybe it isn't the same exercise. Maybe your goal isn't even the same, but you don't realize it's different from the last time that you tried and feel like you failed. The only way you can really truly fail in health is to stop.
I think you have to have the courage to not walk alone.
Right.
I think it's actually easier to try to keep doing it on your own.
Right.
Pass, fail, because who's there to hold you accountable?
Well, that's the thing, right?
Who's there to make sure you do it right?
It's not easier to be successful alone.
Right.
It's easier to try to do it, to do it alone.
Where if you hire someone, like you actually have to warrior up and really do it and follow it. And they're there to keep you encouraged and keep you on track. But like you actually have to have the courage to really, truly press in and do it.
I tell my clients this all the time, and what I say is most of my workouts, the way I regiment my workouts together, like if you really truly dug on the internet, you would find them. Someone else has come up with the same things that I come up with.
Mine are completely different.
No, boy. Well,
actually, I think yours are completely different.
Okay,
I'm just kidding.
I don't. No. I don't.
Totally joking. No, seriously.
But I actually don't disagree.
Someone has duplicated it.
I do take a little bit of pride in how I put things together, and that I'm very specific to a person. I have helped so many people that have worked with other trainers and or worked with other physical therapists to overcome injuries.
But like a lat pull down is a lat pull down, and a shoulder press is a shoulder press. Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you rock, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're heavy, sometimes you're not. But what we do is even if you only see me once a week, you don't want to come in 7 days later and say, I've done nothing.
Right.
You don't want to come in and say, I haven't done my cardio. You have to see me 1 hour a week. So it's like that appointment in and of itself is accountability. But what has to happen in between is as well, that's primarily what you're paying for. You're paying for the assistance to actually go to war with your health.
Yeah. And for like a battle plan, and you're also paying for an army that's supporting you.
Correct.
Like at Integrity, you walk in And you're not alone. Yes, you have a trainer. Yes, you have a nutrition coach, but you also have Dr. Greg on the treadmill telling you, hello, good morning, so glad you're here.
Right.
And then you have, Debbie in the back, saying how great you look. That's just a client. These are just clients.
Right.
They all encourage each other. They all build each other. They all inspire each other. They share stories. They share recipes. They share ways that they got through it. So you're actually, having the courage to really find a path that could work and to truly follow it, that could change everything.
Yes.
For more information on a path and an army to support you with Integrity Training Systems, we have a 6-month nutrition program where we can offer you a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers. You can give us a call at 636-299-2208 or take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com. For gluten-free, dairy-free, nutrient-dense baked goods delivered to your doorstep from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family will eat, fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. We just finished up talking to you about what it means to be a warrior, and we were kind of talking about the bad choices a little bit, like not letting yourself feel like a failure and then getting caught up in this loop of not being able to warrior into your health every day. And I want to kind of continue into that. Deb recently did a Facebook post where she actually talked about not letting the weapon of bad choices stop you from prospering in health. And I've told the story about a client that I've had before, but she came to me and she started training with me and she did nutrition with Debbie and she was ultimately with us for a few years, but she lost more weight than she weighed at the end of the run with us. And I'll say that again. She lost more weight than she weighed. So she ended up losing almost 180 pounds. And when she left, she weighed, I think, about 130. So she more than cut herself in half. And I'll never forget, one day she came in, she was like borderline on the brink of tears. She looked really down, really depressed, upset. And I just asked her, what's going on? Like, what's wrong? And she's like, well, last night I had chips. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, yeah, I had a friend come over and they brought food and then they forgot the chips there. And I know I should have thrown them away, but I ate them and I just can't believe I did that. Like, I'm such a failure. And I'm like, you've lost 180 pounds. Like, listen to what you're saying right now. Like, yeah, you shouldn't eat them, but like, who cares?
Right.
Big deal.
Right.
Don't eat them. Don't eat them this morning.
Just wisdom.
Like, I ate the whole bag. Good. Then you're not going to eat them again.
Right.
You know,
now
it's
they're
like
gone.
it's over. So maybe you learn, okay, I shouldn't have, potato chips in my house. We already knew that. But like, just think about that for a minute. This is someone who absolutely has basically become the pinnacle of weight loss. I mean, we've lost almost 200 pounds. That's double what I lost. Okay. And they feel like a failure because they had chips once. Right. This is a weapon. The weapon of a bad choice can stop you from being healthy because she hadn't ate her breakfast the way she was supposed to that morning. She felt like she should just not eat. Like, it started this cascade of events. And that cascade ultimately isn't just about missing the calories that morning. Well, then is that going to create hunger in the evening? Now, are we going to have a craving where we go get something else we shouldn't have? It's like you should restart each time something is off. Instead of beating yourself up about it, just say, shoot, well, that happened. So now I'm going to have to kind of pocket that, potentially deal with some repercussion. Maybe I don't feel well. Maybe it doesn't bother you at all.
Right.
The one-time deal.
Right.
But then just move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So important.
I just think that is where I find a lot of people get caught up is they're not able to reset. And I've joked about this more times than I can count, but it's like, okay, it is holidays. It's Halloween. Okay. I had some Halloween candy and I know I shouldn't have done that, but like, Thanksgiving's almost here, and I know I'm going to have stuff I shouldn't for Thanksgiving because I really like to eat for Thanksgiving. So I might as well just eat whatever I want for November. And so then I made it to Thanksgiving, but it's like Christmas is right around the corner. And like I know for a fact that I'm going to eat things for Christmas and the Christmas candy and all the Christmas treats. And so like I'll just start in January,
and
right?
You 25 pounds
I'm
heavier
going to go
because of
ahead
it.
and start in January, but like, gosh, January is so busy. It's like all these things happening. So like,
And then you get COVID January 1st.
Yeah. So then
Right.
by next Christmas, you still haven't started.
Right.
You know, it's like the worst day to start something is tomorrow because that tomorrow just doesn't come. It just keeps
start it
being
with the
tomorrow. It
next
keeps
meal.
being tomorrow. It keeps being tomorrow. You start it the next time you consume something.
Right.
So my point is, okay, big deal. You had Halloween candy. Like, why the heck does that mean you should just continue to be off for the weekend?
Right.
Like, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, keep having Halloween candy. Have it every single year. It's Halloween. That's what people do.
Right.
Have Halloween candy.
Right.
You know, you want to get a healthier version, go ahead and go to Whole Foods and get a healthier version. Then
Right.
maybe you won't get a migraine from it.
Yes.
Maybe you won't have a skin irritation or a gut issue, but, you know, it's Halloween. Have Halloween candy. That's just what people do.
Yes.
On Thanksgiving, have mashed potatoes. You know, have a piece of pie. That's what people do. If you want to get a gluten-free pie, if you want to make it with a little less sugar,
Yeah.
then go for it.
I mean, if you know you have a health issue that you actually shouldn't have that pie, it's less about the calories, less about the intake, then, you know, like me, for instance, I don't do well with gluten and dairy. So I used to,
we would make it free.
I used to love cheesecake. So that's a little bit more out the window, but I just do a gluten-free apple pie or something.
Right.
So it's like, you know, you work within your health parameters, but yeah, that's
It
what
doesn't
you
have
do.
to be
You don't
2 months long.
You don't beat yourself up for it, but you also need to not use it as a crutch. So it's like that fine line
Mm-hmm.
of making sure that you're not like going way on the one side where you're beating yourself up because you smelled candy, and you're not going on the other side either where you're like, well, I'm going to just
But
do
I
it
just
for the
want to
next
have a
12 months.
normal life, though.
Right. And that's common.
Right.
That's the like, well, I
Listen.
don't, you know, it's like, I just feel like I deserve to live a little. Well, you do. So you might as well get your health right so you can live a little longer.
Exactly.
You know, it's like,
Exactly.
and that your quality of life goes up. That's something that's super common. It's
What's
really
normal
fascinating.
about
I have
eating
a client.
toxins
It's
all the
you
time?
saying this just made me think about this. I have a client, and she recently told me, I don't know the connection. I think it's just a friend of hers, that she doesn't see very often. This friend's husband is getting dementia. Like he's blanking out. He's not very old. I think he's like 58, 60-ish. And he's starting to blank out for periods. But then other times he's completely there. Okay. And so then he kind of goes through waves of this. So she was talking about how she had to quit her job so that she could kind of take care of him. And they're financially, you know, in enough of a spot that they can do that, thank God. So it's like they're able to focus on that. But this client has been with me for a decade and tells her friend, listen, I think you should explore the ketogenic diet. Like it's starting to be proven to help with this and brain functionality. And I've even got someone you could go see.
I was just going to say that.
And talked about coming to see you. And the wife says, oh no, like I like my food. I'm not willing to change that. And he's not going to do something that I don't do. So like, we're not giving that up. You know, it's like she pretended like it's not even accurate information. Your husband is going to die of dementia. Like there is science proving that helps. Yeah, absolutely. Mind blowing. And she said she just stepped back. She was like, you could tell she was aggressive about this food. And she's a little bit heavier lady. The client's friend is. And so she was like, I just kind of took a step back from it, but it's like, whoa.
Wow.
Right.
Well,
that's the world.
That's unique. Yeah,
Right.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, life will go by fast and it will go by uncomfortably if you're not trying to pay attention to the details. Everybody has a different body and a different set of circumstances and a different health pattern. So some people can get away with more than others, you know, but there are things going on inside your body that may not be representing themselves in symptoms quite yet, even when you're having something. So, you know, you might feel like you're getting away with it, but then, you know, 2 years later or 4 years later on your blood work, you actually were not getting away with it because all of your inflammatory markers are up. You know, your histamine levels are up. Like there's just things that just start to change without you knowing it. But we're here to help guide you through that. That's what we do at Integrity. For more information on a 6-month nutrition program with us at Integrity, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com, or for a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, you can give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free, nutrient-dense baked goods delivered to your doorstep from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-finished beef delivered to you, take a look at fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3.
I was just going to say for that last segment that we did.
Yes.
One of the things I like about that whole post that I posted was that actual scripture is no weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Right.
Okay. And the thing of it is that you don't recognize all of the different weapons that come at you on a regular basis.
Correct.
So you're talking about that client. You're talking about how she doesn't want to make those changes for her husband or make those changes for her.
Right.
In a way, like that's just a huge weapon that's coming at her.
Attack.
Right. Of just total distraction.
The best way to attack somebody is when they're unaware and they don't know where you're coming from.
And she's using food as almost like a crutch to keep her balanced.
Yes.
But what it's actually doing is imbalancing her, and then it's taking away from her husband's life as well.
Correct.
But I just wanted to mention that scripture because it's a scripture that I've stood on for years. And the reason that I posted that post was because years ago, it's been over 5 years, our pastor, Pastor Patsy Perry at Family Church came up and she had wrote it out in church, that full scripture. And that, no tongue that comes against you. I don't know the end of that memorized perfectly, but like no one can speak ill against you because and it won't prosper either. But like we've stood on that scripture all throughout COVID. We've stood on that scripture for years. No weapon formed against us will prosper, because we know we're doing God's work. And, she wrote that out for us. It sits on my desk. And when I looked at it, I just thought to myself, like, there are so many weapons that come against us and keep us from being able to live a life of health and wellness. And we don't block them. Like we don't get the shield of faith out and try to block them. We actually get annihilated by them.
Right.
We get bullet holes from them. Like we're walking around with tattered clothing because of them. We have to buy new clothes because our clothes don't fit because we're gaining so much weight. We have to take pills. We have to take, prescription drugs because we're having reactions from the food that we're eating on a regular basis. We're having difficulties in our relationships because our mood is shifting because of the food that we're eating. We may not be doing as good at our job because we're just not able to focus the way we used to because our food is not as good as it should be. So when you think of that scripture, no weapon formed against you will prosper, you can cast it down. You can cast this whole situation down. You can change all of those things I just mentioned just simply by changing the direction of your food. So I just wanted to throw the scripture in there.
No, I mean, you just have to be willing to do that. And that's the problem, like my client with her friend is she said, it's not like I'm backing down and I'm never going to have the conversation again. I could just tell she was very defensive in that moment and wasn't going to hear what I was saying. But also, she's like, you could tell that she just, it was truly what she was hanging on to be okay in her life.
Yes.
It was like, it was her coping mechanism. But to your point, the coping mechanism was actually going to ultimately end up harming both her and for sure her husband.
Yes.
But what's interesting is this client also said that she was there with her husband. And her husband said, oh, well, yeah, I mean, my wife, she likes to eat cleaner and she likes to, be more like that. And I just looked at my client and I was like, but you don't actually like to eat cleaner. Like you hate it. And she's like, exactly.
Your choice, yeah.
She's like, exactly. She goes, I looked at my husband like, what?
To do it.
It's almost like he
probably felt awkward.
Right.
Right.
It's almost like he was trying to justify to the friend, oh, that's okay.
Because the friend is actually the normal one, right?
Correct.
But it's not.
And so it's like
When does that happen?
that is her drug, and she's giving her drug to her husband, and it's actually killing her husband.
I just don't understand when that happened.
It's pretty crazy, but I want to talk a little bit about just different things that happen in the body. And we've kind of talked about, like, in the first and second segment, being healthy, being well, getting back on track. And I mentioned that sometimes, you shouldn't have regret on something you've consumed that you know that you shouldn't have had, but the cascade effect of what that can do to you. And what I said was that this client, she ate something she wasn't supposed to eat, and the next day she skipped her breakfast. And then ultimately that altered the course of her day up until the point she met with me. She was in a state of like depression, and it altered her mood, altered how she was feeling. And something that commonly comes up, I find, in the health world, as well as just doing a diet or nutrition in general, is, why am I hungry all the time? And my point was, with her having ate that bag of chips the night before, and then the next morning skipping breakfast, she's absolutely 100% setting herself up in the evening for hunger and cravings. And there's a difference between feeling like you're starving and then feeling a hunger, and I always tell people, like, for me, when I know I'm in a weight loss season, or when I was losing my 100 pounds originally, or cutting for a tournament or something like that, I look at a mild hunger the same way I look at being in the middle of cardio, being tired and my legs burning and wanting to quit.
Right.
It's just part of it. It's like, okay, I'm not actually starving. I could fast if I had to. I'm going to eat again in 2 hours. I don't need this. It's like finishing my set. Now, that's absolutely different than feeling like you're in a state of starvation all day and wondering why you're so hungry. This is part of why it's so important. Like, when people work with Debbie, I tell people, like, what you're eating is important, but the reason she's got your quantities the way she has them at the time she's got them, it's not just make them up. Like, there's actually a reason behind that. I have another client right now that's dealing with that, where I think she's just over consuming at certain parts of her day and under consuming and or skipping other parts, but she's experiencing hunger because of it. So, Deb, I'm just going to open it up to you a little bit to kind of go over different reasoning. Someone who's trying to get healthy, just starting with you, or even if they're just Googling and listening to the radio show right now, how to get started this year, why are some of the reasons that you find that people are in a chronic state of hunger when they try to change something?
Well, the first thing is that you're not having a balanced plate.
Right.
So when we look at your plate, it's probably full of one nutrient. You're doing a great job of getting one nutrient in, but you're just not really doing that great of a job of getting other nutrients in. So yes, we build energy with carbohydrates, and we fuel our brain, we fuel our eyes, we turn everything on, but it's like a short-term switch. So that switch will go right back out if we don't do something to extend the energy. So when we have our carbohydrates, we get that initial energy, but then we basically keep and maintain that energy with the quality protein and the quality fat that we have. So like when I was growing up, one of my favorite things to eat was that I loved egg noodles and butter. And I mean, I don't know how to explain it. I absolutely loved them. I could eat them 3 times a day, and that was all I needed. I didn't need meat. I didn't need vegetables.
It made you hungry for the next time.
Right, exactly. But of course, my parents didn't let me eat that. And if they did, it was a very small amount with meat, with vegetables, right? But if I kept just eating egg noodles, which a lot of people eat a big plate full of pasta, a big plate full of rice, a big plate full of beans, a big plate full of bread, okay? A lot of people do this, right? And there's not enough protein. There's not enough quality fat. There's not enough quality fiber through vegetables on there. So it's not sustaining you. It's not going to keep that blood sugar from falling. And we also need, so that's number one, a balanced plate. Number two, we need to care about the rate at which your food converts to sugar, okay? Don't turn the radio off. It's not that complicated. I know it sounds like, I don't feel like listening to science, but this is actually life-changing information. If you can grab a hold of this, you really can get a really good idea of how to stay well balanced and how to have good, consistent energy all throughout the day. When you bank foods are going to convert super fast. They're going to convert super slow. And then there's some foods that are kind of in the middle. An example of a super fast food would be a white potato, cereals, pastas, crackers, cookies, cakes. Super slow would be broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, asparagus, yellow squash, zucchini, mushrooms, cucumber, all types of lettuce and greens. Very slow to convert to sugar. Some in the middle foods would be things like sweet potatoes, butternut squash, beets, parsnips, and quinoa. The rate at which our food converts to sugar has so much to do with how well we maintain our hunger. Because if I just sit and have a potato, okay, and that's all I have, or if I just sit and have an apple and that's all I have, it's going to convert to sugar super quick. It's also going to fall down super quick. So guess what? I'm going to be looking for something to eat within an hour or an hour and a half. And if I'm chronically metabolizing food, meaning I go ahead and serve that need and I'm eating every hour and a half instead of every 3 hours or 4 hours, I'm going to set myself up for that type of insulin pattern. And I'm actually going to need that much food. Now, a number 3 reason is you're creating too many gaps within your day. Maybe your breakfast is absolutely perfect. It's exactly what Debbie tells me to do. You have that at 9 o'clock. And then you get busy and you don't eat again until 3 o'clock. Well, go ahead and eat at 3 o'clock and make it a very well-balanced meal, but be prepared to be hungry at around 4:30 or at around 8:30, because the gap you created between 9 and 3 is going to come back. Even though the 3 o'clock meal was enough and it was well-balanced and it was a quality meal, it's not going to be enough to carry you through your day, and that hunger will come back. Even if dinner is perfectly well-rounded, it's still going to come back to you. And if you try to go to bed and you try to ignore it, you're going to wake up the next day with that hunger, and you carry that hunger for days until you start to get enough calories, enough balance, enough fat, enough carbs, and you really try to bring enough in that just really keeps you sustained and balanced, like fibrous vegetables, good quality fat sources. Now, there are other things that could be dynamically bringing that hunger up, which could be hormonal imbalances, obviously blood sugar imbalances, instability with your insulin, stress hormones can get released. There's a lot of different things, but those first 3 things that I just mentioned, those are game changing. If you can line those three things up, which is what we do in the first 30 days of working with me, a lot can change. Really, honestly, the people that I meet with, when they first come back to me, I will tell you that 8 or 9 out of every 10 people tell me, do I have to eat that other meal if I'm not hungry? Because they're not hungry.
Right.
1 or 2 out of 10 people tell me that they're hungry, and it's usually because they have basically an imbalance with their gut microbiome, and maybe they're dealing with excessive yeast overgrowth, bacteria overgrowth, parasite, or they're really just dealing with a hormonal imbalance, or they're just so metabolically inefficient that their insulin's just all over the place. And the reality of it is that is super complicated stuff that you will not likely notice on yourself, right? You need someone else to be looking at this. And sometimes it takes a village. It's not always just me. I might refer you out for some blood work. I might refer you out to a doctor. I mean, we all work together to try to get you in balance. But the very first thing you do is you get the food in balance, because that is basically the layer of the onion that we have to peel off to really be able to get to the root of what's actually going on. That is what I do with my 6-month nutrition program. I tell you exactly what to eat, where to buy it, how to order when you eat out, what you should do when you travel, what you should be drinking, just ultimately any vitamins and minerals you should be taking. It's all figured out for you. For more information on that program, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com, or to set up a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, give us a call at 636-299-2208 for gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods from my personal bakery to you, delivered to your doorstep. Take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris household will eat, fedfromthefarm.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's John and Debbie Morris with Integrity Training Systems on Real Talk 93.3. Ended out our last segment kind of talking about, Deb hit the key word for me of balance, finding balance in your body. And balance is an interesting word because when I think about finding balance in your body, it's the same thing that Debbie just said. And what that means is finding the equilibrium that your body is actually supposed to operate at, or the closest to an equilibrium that your body can operate at. And I'll give you some examples. I deal with different issues with anxiety, depression, PTSD. I'm ADHD. Like I've got some traumatic brain injuries that I've accrued over my time in my life. And I have a baseline that I need to be at before any of those things are looked at. And unfortunately, a lot of times people aren't looked at the baseline. They're looked at where they're at in that moment. So if you come in and you're talking to your doctor about being extremely anxious, extremely overwhelmed all the time, totally freaking out, you could have the nicest doctor in the world that wants to work with you. And they may say, hey, listen, I'm going to put you on something. We'll get that anxiety down for you. I promise it's going to be better. And they may put you on something and it might be a little bit better. But if you're drinking 4 energy drinks a day, when you have this looked at for your anxiety, you're not actually medicating your baseline. You're medicating a very accelerated place with all of these energy drinks. So everything you're eating and drinking, all of the things you're consuming could actually be altering your baseline. It's no different than your blood pressure, your blood sugar, your vitamin deficiencies. I mean, if you're just eating garbage all day, every day, and you're not actually ensuring that you're getting anything that has micronutrients, vitamins, or minerals in it when you eat, how wouldn't you have a vitamin or mineral deficiency? Of course you do. You're not bringing it in. You're not ingesting it. So when I talk about the balance, unfortunately, most other people think of balance as, how do I do what I want to do?
I know, right?
It actually doesn't have anything to do with a baseline. It has to do with, when someone says balance, it cracks me up. I was just talking to someone about this yesterday, like the terminology work-life balance. Where I come from and what I think of, because I'm actually 40 years older than I am in real life, when I think of work-life balance, I think about like, how much do I need to work to have the life that I want to have for myself and my family? It's like what I need to figure out how to spend time with my daughter, spend time with my wife, have quality time, but I need to work as much as I need to work to create the legacy of the business that I want to have, and then also financially provide for the type of lifestyle and household that I want to bring about for my family. But a lot of times when people say work-life balance, more often than not, what they're actually talking about is how little can I work to get away with being able to survive. It's about less. And then when you talk to someone about health balance, it's less about actually having a balanced, healthy body and more about like, how many times a week can I eat what I want to eat that isn't great for me, but still not be really sick. I can be a little bit sick to get away with that, but not really sick. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at here is I think people need to take a step back and acknowledge all of the feelings and pains and aches and mental problems that they or their family members might have, and just say, like, is it really worth it for me to go through this for what I'm calling balance, or are we just deceiving ourselves to what balance actually is?
Well, I would say this country and our world is a hot mess.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything balanced about the way life is right now, right? It's so completely out of balance, it's not even funny. And if we look back at, when our parents were, I guess, our age and they were trying to raise kids, it's not like they didn't have their own set of circumstances that they were trying to battle to and trying to be able to make ends meet and trying to be able to get by and do all the things that they were trying to do. But like what I have found is that people are very self-absorbed. So it's about them. It's about what they want. It's about what can I get for me? How can I get my food I want? How can I get my drink I want? And it's like, what are you providing for the community? What are you providing for the kingdom? How are you serving God through what you do? If you really are making all those items a priority, then you're going to care about, do I have an exceptional level of energy? Do I have extraordinary mental clarity? Last weekend, John and I went to Faith Chapel in O'Fallon, Missouri. And the Rileys are the pastors there. And this is a phenomenal church. We went there actually to do a presentation. We actually go to St. Louis Family Church. We love Pastor Jeff and Patsy Perry. They're wonderful. But Beth Riley was my client. And so they decided for their church to hire us. Now, they paid a fee for this. This was like, an investment from the church. The reason they did this is because it changed their life as a couple so much that they want their entire congregation's life to be changed, because they can see what that will do to the community. They can see what that will do for the kingdom because of how the people will do their jobs, how they will act in their marriages, how they will act with their children. And the way we coach our child is that this stuff matters, Sophie. This is why you get good grades. It's because you focus on eating this way. This is how you end up acting more caring and more kind to people, is because your mood is stable, because you're committed to a healthy lifestyle. And when you do it, it's contagious. Other people are watching you. But the world, and I say the world, has created balance that is revolved around feeding the flesh, and they have basically separated from the concept of having any type of conviction of, oh gosh, I'm making some unhealthy decisions. I'm making too many of them. I should have a little bit of conviction because I know that's going to make me sick. I know that I'm going to reap what I sow in that area, but we don't have that anymore because we're so self-focused. We're not focusing on the consequences to our actions. We're focusing on fulfilling our fleshly desires. And I just always say faith over flesh. And what would God call you to do? What does he need from you today? How strong does he need you to be? How focused does he need you to be? What does he need you to do? Are you going to miss something? Are you going to miss hearing from someone? Are you going to miss helping someone? I went on a test drive with a guy at one point in my life, and I had no intentions of buying a car. I felt prompted that day to go and drive a car. And that guy told me that just a couple weeks prior, he literally was at a point where he was so low, he didn't know what he was living for anymore. I was able to present Jesus to him. He now comes to our gym. Right. He comes to our gym and works out.
It's just interesting because, God will set up the opportunity for those types of conversations.
What if I wasn't in tune with that?
What if you weren't in tune with that? But also,
all bogged down and fogged up from food.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, if you had gone because you were looking for a vehicle, but at that time, you drove it and you're like, I don't want this, but if you hadn't been that in tune, had that energy and had that clarity, when he started to talk to you, you wouldn't have received enough conversation for him to open up and have that conversation. So someone's life has changed because of that. And I'll tell you, from a selfish perspective, the most selfish thing you can actually do, and I mean this in a good way, is take care of yourself.
Right.
Because then you stand to actually receive the best life that can be offered to you, but you also stand to be able to help others. And that far exceeds consuming something that's going to make you feel like trash eventually.
And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help others. The reality is that we were put on this earth to do that. There's a reason why we're here. And if you're serving another purpose, I just think you're ultimately going to come up empty. I just had a client send me a link the other day, and it was Senior Mary Grace of the Sisters of Life. And she says, your goodness is a gift, and receiving that gift and pouring it out for others is why you were created. If you are not pouring out for others, if you're not pouring out for the Lord and his call and his purpose, you will feel stressed, you will feel anxious, you will feel depressed, you will feel down, and you'll feel somewhat useless. So the balance you want to seek is one of strength, one of integrity, one of courage and fighting for change, and one of health and clarity and focus and quality energy to where you're ready to jump into the ring and do whatever God's called you to do. For more information on a 6-month nutrition program with us at Integrity Training Systems, take a look at integritytrainingsystems.com. Or for a free personal fitness assessment with any of our personal trainers, give us a call at 636-299-2208. For gluten-free, dairy-free baked goods delivered to your doorstep from my personal bakery, take a look at sophiesbakery.com. And for 100% grass-fed beef, the only meat that the Morris family eats, fedfromthefarm.com. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless you.